When we were kids, we all had our go-to happy place, our escape. We gravitated to art, movies, bands, musical, or books. Something that did not make us feel alone, but empowered us in a world of love, magic, and adventures. Come with me as we explore the wizarding world with William Phoenix. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our third installment of Wizarding with William Phoenix. This week, somehow, I was able to get her back for back-to-back episodes, and we are bringing back Miss Brandy from Simply Potter as we go and cover the creation of the magical world of Harry Potter. We're talking not just the Muggle world, but the Wizarding world within the Muggle world, and then obviously places like Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, and Azkaban, and then any other place that we may touch up on. But those are like the four main places that I want to touch because that's where most of our adventure takes place. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, Miss Brandy.
Hello.
She's so quiet. Like everybody else is like, "Hey, man." She's like, "Hello. How are you?"
What's going on?
Nothing much. Thank you so much again for coming and taking the time to do this with me. And like I said before, with how much you've covered and how much everything you've done within the Wizarding world, I feel like talking about the magical world itself is something that you have quite a bit of expertise on and probably thoughts and opinions. So we're going to get started right away.
Dreaming of.
Exactly. A lot of time dreaming of. So we're going to get right into it. And obviously, you know, the most basic and easy one that we can talk about is the Muggle world, which, you know, up until Harry Potter, we did not think that there was, you know, because when we thought fantasy in different lands, we thought that it was never within our own world, that it was never within this earth, that, you know, castles and like Disney and all those places where far off lands, or like the stories go, once upon a time, you know,
far away.
Far away. I was going to say Star Wars' case, a galaxy far, far away. Or for my Trekkie fans out there, you know, so much into the future. Harry Potter takes place here and now. It takes place in the 1990s, which is our generation. You know, we lived through it. Most of us lived through it. If, you know, you're under the age of what, 18, 8? Actually, you haven't lived through the 90s, but, or 9 at this point. Just the thought process is this entire world and this entire battle, because it's not just the world, but we go through the books, this entire battle happened within the scope of our reality is just something that, as far as I know, we never actually thought much about or went in as much depth as we have. So like the Muggle world is just basically that. Like there's nothing fancy. There's like JK didn't go and create a fictional Muggle world that we cannot relate to because it's in the past or in the future or a different world or a different galaxy. It's our planet, which I think is genius in itself, because that is what makes us believe and makes us feel like we have become part of the story, because we you know, it's us, it's here, it's now, or, you know, 20 years ago, but wow, was it really 20 years ago? Wow, it was over 20 years ago.
Almost
Damn,
30.
I'm old.
Almost 30 years ago.
Almost 30 years.
Beginning of the 90s.
I like to go with the Battle of Hogwarts. I like to talk like the Battle of Hogwarts, which was like 1997, so it's not that far away still. Still 22 years. We're not that old, or at least I'm not that old. You're that young. I'm not that old. So that was great, and that was a stroke of genius, and I absolutely love that, and one of the reasons why I absolutely love Harry Potter. So now, the magical world within the Muggle world. And when I say that, I'm talking places like where the Order of the Phoenix would meet, where like an entire building would just elongate itself and stretch out, and you would have like this entire house, which we would never know it's there. or the Knights bus, which goes through the city of London, as we see, and we are none the wiser because it's invisible to the naked eye. I believe that's in Diagon Alley itself. That's another huge place. Like within this realm, what is your favorite place that you would love to visit?
Ooh, I would say Diagon Alley because I remember reading the third book, which is where Harry takes the night bus and he gets dropped off at the leaky cauldron and he has to stay there and he's meandering through Diagon Alley and it's I know it's a magical place, but it's a magic within the Muggle world that we're talking about.
And I'm with you because I mean, yes, a hidden house is great and it's very well thought of. An invisible bus, again, beautifully done. But when you have an entire alley, and by extension of the Diagon Alley, you have the bank. And then we find out how deep the bank goes. And there's a freaking dragon hidden within the bank, which is hidden within our world.
Underneath our feet.
Exactly. Underneath our feet, it's just you want to talk about mind-blowing? Oh my God.
Just tap a few bricks in the right orientation with a wand and you're there. It's crazy. And it's connected by a place I'm pretty sure Muggles can just go into. So you're just chilling with wizards at the entrance to Diagon Alley and you have no idea.
And imagine just chilling in the back, having a smoke, and you're just, I used to smoke, and I get fidgety. So, you start playing on the bricks, knocking on the bricks. By some random, I don't know, playing the lotto chance, you knock on the right bricks in the right order, and this doorway opens. I would love for somebody to write a fanfic about that. Write a fanfic where a Muggle accidentally knocks on the right bricks and Diagon Alley opens up before him and he's thrown into this magical world that he has, or he or she, let's go with that in this case, they have no idea what it is. They never got a Hogwarts letter. They never heard of Harry Potter. They don't know, let's say it happens in the future, so the Battle of Hogwarts is, long gone. They haven't never heard of Harry Potter. Another place that's hidden within the Muggle world, and we can't forget about it, is the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah.
Imagine being in that phone booth and calling the right number, and all of a sudden you're going downwards into this, again, massive underground building surrounded by people, and you're like, drugs are bad, guys?
Did someone flip me something earlier? What was put in my drink?
Right. Nobody would believe you. But JK came up with this thought of having this incredible, wondrous world hidden from us. And it's a functioning world. It's been around for centuries, because when we think that Merlin was part of House Slytherin, that tells you how far back this world has been hidden, and nobody has ever found it. So either Muggles are just that dumb, or it's just that well hidden to where centuries after centuries nobody has stumbled in, and it makes you question. For example, Diagon Alley. When was that built? Was that wall to get into Diagon always there, and throughout centuries, whatever was around it, that wall was never knocked down. Or if it was knocked down, obviously because you didn't hit the right buttons or the right bricks, the Muggles never saw it. Like, I know that I'm going off on a tangent at this point, but like, these are thoughts that I have where it's like, how is it that that brick wall was there? What was there before? Because talking about civilization, that street was not always there. That building was not always there. So what was used before to get to, I mean, granted, the other answer could be flute powder and go diagonally and end up in Nocturne Alley. But was the wall built to make it easier if you just happen to be in London to access Diagon without having to find, because as time went by, chimneys became obsolete. So people were like, how do we get to Diagon? Well, here we are. We're building a wall, and boom, we're getting through it. Not all walls work. But that's my political statement for the episode. But that's just like something, food for thought. Just kind of like the house where the Order of the Phoenix was. That building was not always there. So at what point did they decide we're going to hide an entire, number and house and building here, which only we can see.
And it always kills me, like, when you're watching the scene in the movie and the building's, like, expanding, and there's just, like, Muggles, presumably, next to them, and they're just watching TV, and these buildings are, like being pushed apart, and there's, like, whatever. They're completely oblivious to what's going on around them.
It's not exactly subtle, like how the building comes to be. It's not like it's not like Diagon where, like, say you're meant to spell and then you open the door, but instead of going into the Muggle house, you find yourself into the headquarters of the Order of the Phoenix. But yeah, I mean, these are questions that I have. And if you have answers, by all means, please let me know, because I would either love to know, or if you want to talk about it on the show, let me know. We can set something up. I would love for anybody that has these kind of answers to come out there, because if I'm not the only one that has these questions, I'm sure there are people that would love to have those answers. Just saying. So that I don't know, like, unless there's other places that I can't think of right now, but that pretty much covers, especially like in the main part of London or England, that covers the Muggle, the wizarding within the Muggle. Now we get to really talk about
a person. Like, because there's, like, a lot of, like, fan theories out there, or, like, people want to believe that, like, jkrowling was a Muggle who, like, actually wrote about the things that happened, like, they're, like, real life things, and she was a journalist who just happened to, like, find her way into the magical world and recorded everything that happened and, like, brought it back to us as, like, a fiction story, and it's, like, actually real. Like,
I have never heard that theory, and now I have questions. Lots of questions, which makes me think if it's got anything to do with her recent tweets about going back and talking about different characters. But again, we're not going to cover that this time around. So now, I mean, the main centerpiece of all this, I think we should hop onto a train and, right? Change our train of thought and move forward to Hogwarts. Beautiful. I don't know. Like, I know that if you're a professor, you've been there 4 years, and if you're a student, you got 7 years in this castle. But I feel like even after 7 years, I would still get lost.
Yeah. Well, like, staircases change, the room of requirement, and, like, I think even Dumbledore says that he still, like, finds new things all the time in the castle, and he's been in it for God knows how long.
Exactly. And I know when I played Lego Harry Potter and it was an open world, I would still get lost in the castle and going, I don't know where I am, but this looks like a side story, so I'm just gonna do the side mission over here and feel better about myself.
Or like the old PlayStation games, like Chamber of
Yeah.
Secrets, like you get free roam the castle and there's like new tunnels you can find that will take you to new places. You're like, oh hell yeah.
Oh my God, yes. I was talking about like Lego Harry Potter, but yes, when they would come out with each video game for the movie that just came out, and I want to say that the second one is the only one that I ever actually played from beginning to end.
Oh, that's one.
I tried doing Goblet of Fire because Goblet of Fire is my favorite book, it's my favorite movie. So I'm like, oh my God, I want to get to the point where I'm fighting the dragons, and it got so complicated, I gave up. I was like, no, I can't even. Like, you had to do this and that and this. There was just way too much stuff going on, and I gave up on it. But but Lego Harry Potter was a lot of fun. I will give them that. And now it's remastered and available for PlayStation 4. I really need to start getting endorsed for these things. But this magical, beautiful castle that she has come up with, which not only houses all these classrooms and the grounds and the Quidditch pitch and the Forbidden Forest.
The lake.
And yes, I mean, how can we forget the lake and all the creatures that live here? Because it's not just like the students and the professors and the ghosts. There's all these magical creatures, from the centaurs to the mermaids and the unicorns and the griffins and everything else that lives within this world. And cinematically speaking, I mean, I know obviously it was CGI, but cinematically speaking, it was beautiful. It was beautifully done, and it was more than I could ever have envisioned reading the books had I started reading, before I saw the movies. But what I loved about how I went about it was that I had seen the first couple, at least I want to say, before I started reading the books. So as I read the books, I like to envision stuff, obviously, like everybody does. But had it seen on the big screen first, I felt like I could lose myself more because I wasn't losing time or imagination as to how is this depicted. I took what I saw in the movies, and that's where I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going. This is how I'm doing this. And then you have the castle where obviously all this happens, and then not only did she create that, but she created Hogsmeade because it goes to show how much of a functioning world the wizarding world is. It's not just hidden wizards and witches going to school and learning spells and living life and whatnot. They have their own little village. They have their own little town. And I mean, we've been there in the sense of we've gone to Universal Studios and gone to Hogsmeade and Diagon. But up until then, just like the imagination that this lady has had creating these worlds. And I know that a lot of other authors has come out and, they've created entire worlds. Obviously, for example, Tolkien coming up with Middle-earth and The Lord of the Rings. But she created a world where, like, with Lord of the Rings, you felt like you were on the outside, or at least I felt like I was on the outside looking in. I was watching the story happen, but I could never be part of the fellowship. I could never, I never, there weren't enough side characters or enough stuff going around the main characters to where you're like, oh, I would be doing this or I would be doing that. With Harry Potter, because there's, the Muggle world and the wizarding within the Muggle and Hogwarts and Hogsmeade, and we'll get to Azkaban as well, there's so much life and so much stuff going on that you can see yourself being part of this world. Like, going back to the Ministry of Magic, one of my first cosplay, if you want to call it that I came up with, because at the time I didn't think I could do a cosplay of a main character. I made up my own Death Eater horror that worked, or sorry, former Death Eater horror that worked at the Ministry of Magic. And that's how I lost myself into this world. That's how I saw myself following, everybody, obviously Potter and Hermione and everybody else. I was visiting Hogwarts, and this is what was happening while I was visiting Hogwarts.
Yeah.
I
kind of like how there's like all these different areas, and you can like kind of identify with the one that you're really interested in, and then it seems like all of these areas expand, and you find out more about them as time goes on, which makes you feel like even better about being in the world, like mentally, like you're going on a journey in each place.
And that is absolutely true, because for example, if I was a professor, people are like, oh, I have the Death Eater mark tattooed on my arm, and people are like, oh, you're a Death Eater and everything and that. But I can see myself as a professor at Hogwarts, and dueling would probably be where I would want to be. I wouldn't, dark arts are great, and I'm not much of a herbologist, so that would not be. I was never great, although I took AP Chem in high school. I was never great in physics and chemistry, so potions, probably not for me.
Yep.
But I see wand dueling as fencing in our Muggle world, and I've fenced, I've competed, I love the sport, and that's why I see myself taking part of that. And as she created this magical world, she made it so big, and she made it so inclusive. That's the word that I'm looking for. That whether you're a child, or whether you're an adult, or you're a grandparent, you can find some place that you can belong in the Wizarding World. And to me, that is beyond words. Like, there will never be enough thank yous that we can give JK for everything that she's ever done. No matter what people say, no matter what, what's going on and whatnot, it's the basis of Harry Potter and what she's come up with. People have, like, if you, like, to put it bluntly, people have made careers or have been able to tap into things that they never thought they were possible to do because this world exists. Like you have your Simply Potter, and you've covered so much and you've done so much, because this world exists.
Yeah.
And granted, people are like, oh, well, you could have, you probably would have found something else that would have filled the void and whatnot. But that's what it would have been. It would have been a filling of the, I feel like it would have been more a filling a void.
Yeah.
And when you fill a void, it doesn't have the same feeling of accomplishment as something that you feel like you want to say destined to do or bring to people.
Like a place where you belong. Like you find that kind of identity, or you find that connection to something that like draws you towards it, and then you find your space within that world, which is what a lot of like creators like me and you sitting here having this conversation, like we do completely different things like in our daily lives, but we come here and we like get lost in this world that's been created.
And I know that, like, I'll touch on, oh my God, I'll touch more on it when we cover the episode of Harry Potter influence in pop culture and in everyday life. But I mean, we became friends because of Harry Potter. I cannot tell you how many people that are in my life right now, whether actively or just even on Facebook, that I've met and had a connection with simply over, this magical world. The tattoo on my arm is as much as some people look down upon it. I live in New York. I take the subway. If it's a hot day, I wear short sleeves. I cannot tell you how many, and not just kids, but even adults. So, I'm standing up, holding myself up, and they see the tattoo, and they light up, and because they're like, "Oh my God, you're part of this world. You and I know where we belong. We know where we are. It's like we are wizards living in a Muggle world, and it's true because not all wizardry is just wands and magic. You make your own magic and you make your own persona, and
that's my favorite part about it is like meeting other people. I had a Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix shirt on yesterday, and like you just could see it in people's faces, and everyone wanted to talk to me about the book and the movie, and I'm like, yes, you are my people.
It's just like one of those, like you step into a room and you're wearing something Potter, and as people see you step in the room, who knows. Yeah. Because they will give you that extra look. They will give you that extra smile. They'll feel more at home and like I already have a connection with that person because we have something in common, and that common denominator is Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Whether then you agree on the details and the semantics of it, that's a whole different story. But you have that basis. You have an icebreaker without even trying to break the ice. You've already broken that ice the moment you step into that room and people acknowledge Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And, it's so rampant, and will it ever die down? Hopefully not.
Not for the foreseeable future.
Not for the foreseeable future. We got
so many things are happening.
We got at least 3 more movies coming out that say otherwise.
A mobile game.
And the mobile game, hopefully it'll drop soon. And she just announced that there's more books coming out next month. So
kind of arguably.
Yeah, I haven't read the full details on that, but I'm sure that you're up to speed on that already.
Yeah, they're like ebooks that are taken in chunks from a book that's already out about the library exhibit that's been in New York and London.
Okay. But,
cool.
Yeah, yes, they're not like the new adventures of Harry Potter. But exactly, like there's no, you said it perfectly. There's no shortage of storytelling when it comes to Harry Potter.
Yeah, and kind of like circling back to like defining yourself in the world and like the locations that you like. There's so many different kinds of media and things that you can get involved in, like the books. Like if you're a reader, like the new books are coming out. There's like a brand new set of house edition books if you're a collector of merchandise items. If you're like a theme park junkie.
I heard a few theme parks around here, around the world that may have some Harry Potter stuff going on.
Just one big one.
Right? What the hell was I gonna say? There's always something Harry Potter popping up, and when you think that she's done coming up with magical worlds, and to step out of Harry Potter for a second, Fantastic Beast has shown us that the magical world is not just happening in England. Fantastic Beasts has shown us that now the magical world is happening here stateside, but now is also happening in France. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that the next movie is going to take place somewhere else in the world. That's neither been said or confirmed. Okay, Brazil, apparently. And I'll take your word over my thought. Oh, she did tweet it? Okay. Yeah. I didn't want to say anything because I heard it from somebody which, I mean, they have no affiliation with JK or Warner Brothers or anything like that. But they were like, oh, I think it takes place in Brazil, which now that it's been confirmed, I can't get in trouble for it because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. Which is funny because if you go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando, and they've opened like this new store right across from the stage where the song.
Favorite.
There's different clocks on a wall, and so far the clocks are New York, Paris, and there's 5 clocks altogether. One of them was Brazil.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you go back and you look at those clocks, if that's a hint as to where all 5 Fantastic Beasts are going to take place. Because if I'm not mistaken, one of them is in China. I've only visited it once. I've only seen it once. I do not remember. I would have to go through my pictures to see it because I know I took a few pictures of it. But so far,
on Instagram. Now I'm digging. Now you got me thinking.
So far, all the clocks that are shown on that wall have been taken, with obviously the exception of 2, have been now with Brazil being confirmed, are happening in a Wizarding World. So I have a theory that if you find out what the last 2 clocks are from, you may get an idea of where Fantastic Beasts is going to take us.
And like you learned in the last episode, your theory seemed to be correct.
Yes, because apparently, if I could say something when I'm not ready, I'm either an asshole or I get banned from stuff. But we're not going to go there. Hashtag still fighting. But yeah, like that's my theory, that if you find out where those clocks are, and I want to say I have it in one of my albums, I will have a look and we'll talk about it.
Here it is.
All right. So what can you tell what they are?
There's London.
Yeah.
Tokyo. That's it.
Japan.
Moscow.
And Russia.
Yep, Paris, New York, Beijing.
And then one of them is Brazil, right?
Yeah, that's probably the one that's being blocked by the broom in the photo that I'm looking at.
I'll have a look at it when we go off air and see, because I want to say one of them was Brazil. But I mean, that would make sense, because obviously London covers Harry Potter, so that's taken care of. And then you have the U.S., you have Brazil, and now apparently you have Tokyo, Russia, and Beijing. All viable places that could have wizarding stuff going on. And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember well, a couple of years ago when she announced that there were different schools around the world, those schools were in some of those places as well.
Yeah. So
I know for a fact Brazil was one of them, because I remember the Brazilians went nuts over the fact that she announced there was a wizarding, and we were all like, "Go home! Yes, give us our parts back." But again, this goes to prove that the creation of wizarding worlds around the world at this point, not just in England, are everywhere. We were introduced to Makusa. We were introduced to in Paris. They were like completely hidden circuses on top of obviously Paris and France having their own Ministry of Magic. It's everywhere. It's all around us. And again, like I said, like I live in New York, so it may be happening right now. We don't know. But that's what's great about it, that we may have, think about this, we may have experienced something and then we got obliviated.
I know. So like deja vu. Have you ever had like a really serious case of deja vu and then you're like, have I just
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are deja vu? Are deja vu stuff that we, like, recollections that we're like, wait, I've been here before, I've seen this before, and then all of a sudden it's like, But like, I mean, then there's the whole point with Jacob where apparently they obliviate only You know, if you have happy memories, you don't forget those, and that's a whole different ball game. But
Yeah, that was like out of left field in the new
a little out of
series.
left field. I mean, the entire movie is a little out of left field, but we're not going to cover that in this episode. Um, but I mean, can you imagine that at one point in our lives we may have been part of this magical, fantastic world, and now we're just sitting here talking about and speculating on what could be. And I think that in itself is a wonderful thing that she brought us and that she gave us. And she didn't just create happy, wonderful places. She created places like Azkaban, like prisons. Like that's how much thought she thought about it. She's like, what happens if you go bad? You know, and the U.S. has their own Azkaban as well. But Azkaban being the big one in Potter, like that's how much thought she thought about. She's like, what happens when you get arrested in your magical world? You don't go to Muggle prison. You go to Azkaban, and who guards Azkaban? The Dementors, which we should have covered the Mentors in the past episode when it came to characters, because the Mentors are your soul-sucking exes that just make you feel bad. But that's a whole different ball game.
I love that.
Like that's how much thought she has put into this, and as I keep saying, I will keep saying, the fact that she put it in modern day times, obviously going back to Harry Potter, and then showed us that it was happening back in the 30s in between the wars with Fantastic Beasts. It opens so many possibilities, so many thoughts, and so many like fantasies for children and adults of all ages. Because as long as you let your mind roam and you stop and think about it, Harry Potter will literally never die.
Yeah.
And the world.
Timeless. It's everywhere.
Exactly. Like even let's say that he gets old and he passes away and he greets death like an old friend, quote unquote. The magical world will never die because it was here before Potter was around.
Mm-hmm.
And then Potter. So can you imagine if years down the line, kind of like, if you think about it, we're going to like the Star Wars factor where we had like the main events happening with Harry Potter. Then we got the prequels, which is Fantastic Beasts. What's next? Post-Potter.
Gosh, I've never thought about that. Like, could you imagine futuristic, like, wizarding? Like, imagine the stuff that wizards could accomplish. Like, we think with Muggle technology, like, it's crazy. Like, things that, like,
and I know, you know, though people say it's not canon or whatever, but we got a glimpse of it with Cursed Child. Which again, we're not going to go into depth about it, but that proves my point that the magical world happens, and it's still happening post Potter being in Hogwarts. And as long as there's people out there reading the books, watching the movies, creating their own characters, whether it's fanfic, whether it's not, whether it's whatever it is, this Wizarding World will never die. It will never go away. Because, and I'm not even talking about like money wise, because you know it's a cash cow. But
for sure,
we're willing to feed the cash cow because we believe, because we like it, we like the escape. We like to think that when we are having a hard day, you know, it's like, at what point in Potter's adventure do we find ourselves in this moment? Like what I'm going through right now, like not right now, but I'm saying, you know, hypothetically speaking, you lose a loved one and now you're going, you know, you're getting that feeling when Potter, you know, lost a loved one, whether it be his uncle, whether it be a friend, whether it be a guardian, whatever the case may be. The Wizarding World and the creation of the Wizarding World is like no other. And if this ever gets back to you, Miss Rowling, thank you. Thank you for everything. Anything you want to add? I didn't mean to get so philosophical about it, but I mean, sometimes, you know, you just get lost in train of thought. But any thoughts, any comments?
I think you pretty much nailed it. There's so much of this world that you can get lost in. There's good places, there's bad places, there's family homes, there's markets like Diagon Alley, and there's the forest if you like nature, the Great Lake, Hogwarts itself, like the school, all these other schools. And there's something for everyone to find their place in and find like home. And you find the people who within your kind of realm and what you like, or your family, you know, within the Harry Potter world. And there's all this new stuff coming out all the time just to get lost in, just like this world you can get lost in. And it's truly incredible, and it's an amazing place to be.
And it truly is. And again, we could sit here and talk forever about it and go into every single little detail of Hogwarts Castle, which, again, would probably be another 4-hour episode, and nobody got time for that. But if you have any comments, if you have any places that you feel like we didn't discuss or we didn't talk about or that you would like to talk about, by all means, let me know, leave a comment, contact me, whether it's through manbitesmedia or manbitesretro. I'm always open. When the moment I have time, I try to respond as quickly as I possibly can and in much detail as I possibly can. So, Miss Brandy, again, thank you so much for your time. Let us know again one more time where people can find your lovely work.
Yes, so I'm on Facebook and YouTube as Simply Potter, and I'm on Instagram as simplypottergirl. So if you need a place to get lost in the wizarding world, get one of those out. There's tons of stuff on all of them.
She's not kidding. There's a ton of stuff, and it's also... and it's very informative. It's like I'm starting to learn what every character's birthday is, because this girl will post the birthday of, it doesn't matter whether you're a main character or a character that we see once, she will post the birthday, because that's how much detail this girl gives her work. And I can only hope that one day I can achieve that kind of commitment and love and level of integrity that she gives everything that she touches. Ms. Brandy, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time. Till next time, God knows what we have in store to collaborate together.
It'll be great, whatever.
Oh, it is. And if you want to see what we've worked on together, go on her YouTube channel, which again I believe is Simply Potter.
Yep, youtube.com/simplypotter.
A couple of the episodes, a couple of things that we collaborated. One of them was me, her, and I believe it was Brenda, that we watched together the release of the first trailer of Crimes of Grindelwald and a reaction to it. And then with Miss Pinup Gryffindor from Instagram, a friend of ours, we had a lot of fun doing adult Harry Potter pickup lines with a lot, with some of our friends' background and making cameos. So if you need a laugh, if you need something to get away from for just a few minutes and just have a good chuckle, check it out. It's on a YouTube channel. As always, I am Williamphoenix. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us. Till next time, where I believe our next episode is going to be the 4 houses that we're covering. And I will have Miss Katiealani coming on to talk about the 4 houses. And we shall go on from there. Thank you very much. Tune in next time. I'm Williamphoenix. This has been Miss Brandy, and you have been Wizarding with